Welcome to week one of the I8FA football season, joined by the guru, Joe Merdian, and the coach, back on set, Jay Doyle. I am your host, Kyle Kampmier. Joe, we've been talking about week one for a couple weeks now. What do you find to be the most interesting part about week one as we enter this 2026 season?
Well, guys, I think just kind of like any other week one, we've been talking about these teams now for a couple months. And I think we've hyped up some teams, and we've had some teams where we think, maybe they're not going to be as good as they have been in the past. So it seems like you always find out a lot week one. Some teams we talked about taking the next step. Now we want to see that production on the field, so we want to see what teams that we may think can compete, to make a trip to Mama. So always interested to see, what some teams might have for some new wrinkles and that sort of thing. And there's always probably that one team also that we weren't expecting. And, you'll hear people say, well, Joe or Kyle didn't talk about us. So that's what motivated us, but you always might have that. But no, I'm just looking forward to seeing these teams get going and see what everybody's got this year.
You talk about that team, and that team I've heard a lot about currently is that of Cerro Gordo. Have you been able to get any more information on Cerro Gordo in recent
No,
weeks?
I have not. So, I just kind of know what everybody else knows. Their first year enrollment of 118, so a smaller school, obviously. So we'll see what happens. And they actually kick things off. They start out with that Thursday game against Oblong. So everyone will get a good look at them starting the season here to see what they got.
Yeah, I know down in the Decatur area, there's definitely been a lot of talk about Cerro Gordo and what they can do. And obviously they have history behind them, although it's been a long time ago. That's why it's history. But at the same time, their first stint in 8-man football, they haven't won a game as themselves since 2023. And last year they were forced in that last-minute co-op with Arcola, where collectively they went 1-8. So we'll see what happens. Definitely excited to see what they can do now that they're back on their own and in the 8-man football, where it's probably a better fit enrollment-wise and then player participation-wise too. Jay, you are off the sidelines for the first time since I can remember. It's been a long time.
It's been a couple days.
What excites you the most looking forward to a new season and one that you're not really a part of?
Yeah, I think the main thing that gets most exciting for everybody is everybody's 0-0, right? And after week one, half the teams are going to feel like we're there. We're gonna ready to make the playoffs, and the other half, my season's over, right? And then you go to week two and you have that same feeling again. So the one thing that's always constant that you can tell from any team week one is the work they put in the off season, right? Like that's what we always see. You see the usual suspects up there. You can probably go to their weight room calendar and they had 90 percentile show up of the kids and everything like that. And when the teams that are 50-50, that's going to be the difference between that 5-4, 3-6, and 4-5. That's going to get you in and out of the playoffs. And that's what it always comes down to every year. There isn't some magic thing. You got to have the players, and the players have to show up when it matters. And that's going to be this Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, totally agreed. That's where I'm really excited about, the season coming up, because obviously we have a lot of teams that are looking to improve. And like me and Joe, you were talking last week about starting to see a little bit more parity, especially among the top upper echelon of teams as well. I mean, obviously Amboy is a clear-cut favorite, which we discussed. They return a lot off that state championship team from a season ago. But when you take a look across the state, we saw the likes of Metro East Lutheran improve their play. St. Anne's improved their play. South Fork improved their play. West Central's back up and running again. MCP's always been somewhat of a staple, although a little bit down from where they were a couple years ago, but they're still very much in the mix of things. And, of course, the rise of one of our local teams in West Carroll really starting to be put into that picture as well. So it creates a lot of excitement. South Beloit is definitely continues to improve and has become another team to watch this year. Although they were in the quarterfinals last year as well. And then I don't want to be remiss of Pawnee. We've seen Pawnee reach the quarterfinals 2 years in a row now too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned it, Kyle. I think you probably just mentioned 10 teams right there. So, the parity towards the top is definitely a good thing, So, you're going to have, when we get to the playoffs here 10 weeks from now, you're going to have some first-round matchups. It'll be very exciting because there's going to be some teams going home that probably deserve to be in the quarterfinals, and that's a testament to how strong the top of the field's getting.
Yeah, which makes it even more exciting. Like, obviously, we got the built-in bye week this year because I8FA is going off of the IHSA schedule with the expanded playoffs. Everything on the IHSA side got moved forward a week, so I8FA responded by throwing a bye week in for everybody, which I think for some coaches, it's not a bad thing because they're not doing it during the playoffs like the IHSA is doing.
Yeah, correct.
I'm not a fan of either of the bye and, with the bye of the playoffs for the, the IHSA side with letting everybody in. I've always been that traditional guy that likes to see if you gotta win to get in type thing. Just where I've been and where everything. And for me, for a week, the one thing it does benefit if you're banged up. The bad thing is if you have a bye week, like some teams have it week 1 or week 2, right? Like maybe that bye week 6 or 7 will help you because you played a season and you have some time to, get some guys back and get healthy. But, everybody wants to play week 1 and you got a couple teams with bye weeks week 1. And it's like, you're waiting another week to go out there, so I'm not going to be pounding the drum for, I like the IHSA extra playoffs and the 8-man extra week off.
I'm not saying I was an advocate of the expanded playoffs. What I do like about it on the 11-man side of things, though, and we'll keep this short because this is obviously an 8-man show, but what I do like about it is the simplicity of we're going to actually get the opportunity to potentially see the best 32 teams in the first round of the playoffs. Are there other ways to do it? Yes. But now you're in a position where those teams have to win to actually move into that official round of 32. And at the end of the day, that's what I want to see. I want to see the best 32 teams that are in the playoffs. I'm not saying the expanded playoffs are the way to go, but that's the decision that has been made. And, talking to a lot of area coaches and now seeing a lot of things start to bubble up as we get closer to kickoff, there's a lot of people that are not in favor of this expanded playoff situation on the 11-man side. And likewise, it's kind of led itself into the 8-man game because it's expanded their schedule all the same.
Hey, Kyle, I know, too, talking to the president of I8FA, John Lawler, they kind of made this decision, when the IHSA was going to start earlier. They made the decision to start earlier as well and have that bye week because with I8FA, they've had trouble in the past keeping the schedule balanced. So with that bye week, it gave the I8FA more flexibility on the scheduling. That was one of the biggest reasons that I8FA did that.
Hey, it works, right?
Right.
So
I don't know if they're all necessarily in favor of it, but when you have the teams backing out last minute, sometimes that sort of thing, it gave them more flexibility with the scheduling. That was one of the reasons they decided to do that. And kind of just to piggyback on what Jay was saying about not liking the bye week or whatnot, Jay, I think just my opinion, these bye weeks for these 8-man teams, I think a lot of it is how your coaching staff handles it with the players. The players are going to think they can just breeze through that off week, this and that. And, I'm sure different coaches will have different philosophies how they're going to handle that bye week. But I think a lot of that falls on on the coaches of these 8-man teams and their coaching staffs.
Yeah, I just go back to coaching myself, and it's like if you're banged up during the season, it's a great to have that week because you're like, man, we can rest and recuperate. But if you're ready to get ready each week and you're rolling,
right,
you have that week. I mean, that's the devil's advocate of the
right.
whole thing, and everybody's have to deal with it, right?
Right.
It's just one of those things to where it's like it's a way to get extra teams in, extra people happy about it. The IHSA is happy for it, and the T-shirt people are happy for it because they get to make a lot more playoff T-shirts for more teams. So that's the that's the winners of it.
All right, let's take a look. We did release our I8FA state rankings presented by Channel Northwest Seed Supply. Plant the seed, grow the future. There is a look of those I8FA 8-man state rankings. And as you can see right there, Amboy had all 13 votes for that number 1 ranking. Polo comes in at number 2, South Fork at 3, West Carroll 4. Number 5 is Pawnee. Number 6, South Beloit. 7, West Central. 8, St. Anne. Milledgeville slides into the 9 spot, albeit we know that it could not necessarily be a good year for Milledgeville. Number 10 is Ridgewood. And then teams receiving votes, FCW, Galva, MCP, Metro East Lutheran, Merdian, and Orangeville. Joe, go to you first. What do you think about the state rankings? Does it pretty much align with what you see for the most part? Obviously, we know that there's a couple teams in there.
Right.
One that we've heard, lost players. Another one lost returning starters for various reasons.
Right.
What's your
Yeah.
thought?
No, obviously, Amboy getting all the first place votes, that made sense. I mean, I think the top 6, even the top 7, I think most people would agree with those are the top 7. The one other team I would maybe throw in that top 7 would be Macon Merdian. Of course, they're just in the others receiving votes here. But yeah, you could, to me, 2 through 6, on any given week, you'd almost draw those out of a hat, I think, right now, until we start playing the games on who you wanted to rate in 2 through 6 in any order. Ridgewood at 10, I'm higher on them than most people. That's where I did have them rated in my preseason poll. St. Anne is interesting. They lost all their skill guys, so bear and see what they bring back. I just don't have enough information on them yet. But the 2 teams I had in mind that aren't in the overall rankings here, Cal, would be Merdian and MCP. And then I had St. Anne just on the outside looking in, and I had Milledgeville out. So that would be where I'm at with mine.
Yeah. Honestly, I think some of our panel members didn't receive all of the news on Milledgeville that we tried to make sure everybody was aware of. But, hey, it's the preseason. It's not necessarily perfect. The great thing is we did expand our polling from 8 people up to 13 now, and expanded even further across the state with these polls as well. So hopefully that can start to knock off the BS bias that we only favor the North.
Well, going back to that, Beans, it is an NUIC show in the way in a bias, but it's like, at the end of the day, whatever this is, it'll be solved on Friday nights, right? It'll be solved, it'll be solved by week probably 4 or 5. You'll get a really good vibe of what it is. And at the end of the day, the North bias to the South bias, the South just has to beat the North, right? I mean, we're back in those days to where that has to happen. And, the Amboy one, I think that's a consensus that everybody is about. Everyone is about Amboy, and then it's kind of everybody else. It's kind of like what people have said in the 1A. It's you're going to take Lee Win or the field. And this year it'd be the same thing. You're going to take Amboy or the field when you pick who your pick is for it because of what they have done and what they present. Now, you look at the top 10, there's a lot in there, but at the end of the day, where the bias comes from is head-to-head matchups and what you do in them head-to-head matchups, because I can't see this very well, but we got to use Kyle's glasses anymore. I figured I've been gone so long now, I've realized I'm blind. But in those games of the last year's playoffs, it came down to some NUIC North, NUIC, and some South teams, and that's where you figure it out, is head-to-head matchups, and it's not what you're doing against each other. It's not what Amboy is going to do against Polo. It's what the South teams do against those teams to match up equally and see where they're at as a football team.
Totally agree. Joe, any additional thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, and Jay kept using the word there, NUIC or North bias. I don't really know if it's bias when 3 of your last 5 state championship games have been NUIC versus NUIC. I mean, that's just the facts. Like, we're not sitting here putting anybody else down. I mean, the facts are the facts, right, guys? I mean, 21, Polo Orangeville, 24, Milledgeville versus Amboy, 25, Polo versus Amboy. So, and then Amboy was in the other 2. So, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bias. I think we're just, backing up the facts of what we've seen the last 5 years. So we'll see what happens. There's definitely some more power, I feel like, in the South this year, some of these Southern teams. So we'll see if one of them can make that leap here.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That's what really has me the most excited. I mean, look at that. South Fork is opening at number 3, right? And then you have Pawnee right there at number 5. Whether people want to agree or disagree, the fact is still there that you have 2 South teams in the top 5 of the state rankings. And I always state, if you're in the top 5 of the state rankings, typically that means you are a team, especially in the preseason like this is, you are a team whose expectations are to be in the Final Four with the opportunity to get to Monmouth.
That is correct. And you speak of those teams, and Pawnee, they played an Amboy team last year, 64-6, and a South Fork team played a Joe's team, the Polo Marcos, at South Fork, and it was 38-0. Everybody brings everybody back, but those are what we can go off of.
True, exactly.
But it's like I said, everything's played on Friday, and these teams win head-to-head matchups or do something in the playoffs, and then you get your roses, they say.
That's how it goes. So we're gonna start breaking down the week 1 games when we return right after this.
Are you looking to get more out of every acre? Channel Northwest Seed Supply is helping local farmers put the right seed in the ground and maximize their crop potential. Channel Northwest Seed Supply provides channel seed products backed by Pivot Bio and Meristem Crop Performance, bringing farmers genetics, technology, and agronomic solutions designed to help your operation perform. For more information, call Anthony Preston at 815-990-4638. Channel Northwest Seed Supply, local service, proven products, and a commitment to helping you grow. That's Channel Northwest Seed Supply. Give Anthony a call today at 815-990-4638.
Are you looking to buy or sell a home in the NUIC area? Trust local expertise. Jess Schumacher with Remax Town, Lake and Country knows the market and understands the community. Whether you're upgrading, downsizing, or buying your first home, Jess is here to make the process simple and stress-free. Put his experience to work for you today. Call Jess Schumacher with Remax Town, Lake and Country at 608-347-3659. Your hometown realtor, helping you find home where your story begins. If you or your loved one has been injured, you need someone who will fight for you. Reese and Reese Injury Attorneys have been serving our community for over 40 years, standing up for people when they need it most. They know how to handle the insurance companies and get results, so you can focus on healing. Don't face it alone. Call Reese and Reese Injury Attorneys today at 815-968-8851 and let their experience work for you. Life comes with a lot of big decisions, from protecting your home and family to planning for the future. That's where Tyler Hoffman with Country Financial comes in. As a local agent, Tyler knows our community and is committed to helping you build a plan that's right for you. Give Tyler Hoffman a call today at 815-248-2188 or stop by his office in Durand. Tyler Hoffman with Country Financial, protecting what matters most.
Welcome back. The first game we're going to talk about is Cerro Gordo at Oblong. Last season, Oblong went 4-5. Cerro Gordo went into a last-minute co-op on the 11-man side with Arcola. They finished with a 1-7 record, maybe 1-8. I8FA had it at 1-7. Who knows? Don't care. Cerro Gordo is new to the I8FA this year. As Cerro Gordo Bement, they last won a game back in 2023. There is some optimism about this as moving into 8-man football with some of the guys that they have coming back.
Question I probably should have asked off air.
Yeah.
What did Arcola do? Are they back in? Are they 11-man?
Yes, Arcola's still 11-man.
Gotcha.
What they're doing, I don't know. I just know that they have a new guidance down there in leadership. What they do, couldn't tell you. Arcola's been irrelevant since they won a state title in 2015. Joe, what's your thoughts on this game? Obviously, last year we saw a lot of Oblong people thinking that the Panthers were going to be good. Clearly,
Right.
they had dissolved their co-op with Pal Hutt prior to that, and they had a better record than what Pal Hutt did last year by far, and they were on the cusp of being in that playoff picture. And I think the expectations for Oblong is to get into the playoffs this season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like you said, they went 4-5 last year. They were right in the hunt right up till that last regular season Saturday. And then, you take a look at Cerro Gordo, new to 8-man. It's always exciting, right? Just kind of a new culture. So, their kids, their community is going to be excited here. Kyle, the one thing I would say when you look at this matchup, and again, folks, this is on Thursday night. So I don't know if this game is going to be broadcast, but if it is, it'd give people a chance it'd be one of the only games around that you could catch on Thursday night. As tough as the South is going to be, guys, we've talked about Pawnee, South Fork, Metro East, Macon, Merdian. Like, that's 4 really good teams that we know of, right? So if you want to make the playoffs from that South Division, if you're Cerro Gordo or Oblong, you got to look at this week 1 game as a must-win game, most likely.
Well, the thing, especially for them, is they went 4-5 last year. So you really miss out on playoffs by what? 1 game. So
Right.
2 things can happen in that, and being in that situation. We went 4-5 one year, after a couple years of not having success. You go 4-5, and we played that last week 9 game against actually Polo, and lost up at Orangeville. The motivation of the team that next year and that next summer for us, you could see it, that being 1 game away,
Right.
they knew they had to put that extra work in. You talk about running that extra lap or getting that extra weight room in. Those are the things that can happen when you're a game away, and we'll see that on Thursday night. And then, a team starting 8-man, right? You want to have that West Carroll experience to where when they went 8-man a couple years ago, they had, they talked about the big crowd and the excitement that they had. Hopefully, they get that same feeling.
Yeah, and if you take a look at Oblong last year, the one game that stands out the most was the game that they lost to Pawnee 35-22 back in week 6. They also had a 42-24 loss to MCP in week 3. Those 2 games, realistically, are the 2 games that put the biggest hurt on them.
Mm-hmm.
But they did lose to another 4-5 team in Unity Christian in week 5, 58-30, and that's coincides with the exact same time that we started to see Unity Christian improve their gameplay to the point where we thought that they were going to throw themselves into the playoff picture as well.
Right. Yeah, I'm probably picking Oblong in this one, guys. I don't have a lot of information on Cerro Gordo, but again, this is with as tough as that South Division is going to be. These teams only have the one non-conference game. They got to play all those teams in that Southern Division. This is really a big stepping stone here for either one of these teams, whichever one comes out on top here to get your season going.
Totally agree. It's going to be an interesting game. 6 o'clock Thursday night. So by the time you hear this, it'll be 6 o'clock tonight. But should be a lot of fun to watch if you can get on it. I would assume what's that website we go to? NFHS.
NFHS.
Yeah. Check it out there. All right. Martinsville at South Fork. Last season, Martinsville missed the playoffs for the first time in a long time. Went 3-6. South Fork was 11-1. Lost in the semifinals to Polo 38-0, as Jay's already made us aware. Last year, South Fork won this game 52-16 in Week 9. Martinsville head coach Mitchell Baird has stepped down. They have a new head coach there now at Martinsville. Obviously, Coach Zach Hanlon's back with the Ponies with what appears to be a pretty loaded and solid team.
But not your guy.
George Bailey's gone, but Stefan Shanks is there.
That's your guy.
And they have Colton Puchetti back at quarterback after that Week 1 injury set him out for the entire season. Joe?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a very motivated South Fork team. Went 11-1 last year, but, they suffered that loss to Polo. It sounded like they had very, very good participation in the weight room over the summer. They got a very good junior class here, the Ponies. I think you're going to see them make a statement right here in Week 1, Kyle. I think South Fork believes that they can be just as good as last year, despite losing 10 very talented seniors. And also they have 36 kids out this year, and they don't have a lot of seniors. So that's the most South Fork's had out in the last 10 years. So things are looking up for South Fork, and they want to take that next step. So I think you're going to see a very motivated South Fork team here in Week 1, and they're going to set the tone early in this one.
Well, I think that's one of those things, you got to play a West Carroll team, and we've seen West Carroll start to increase their level of play, along with that increase their level of physicality. They did, and were able to hang with Polo, West Carroll that is, was able to hang with Polo last year back in Week 3. Going into that game, I felt, like probably many, that West Carroll would have the upper hand against South Fork. South Fork turned that tide, but then the following week lost to Polo 38-0. So, it kind of breaks down to what you see, matchups, time of season, et cetera, right? Through that, I think if you're going to put a flag bearer on a South representative this season, the Ponies are the team you put that on. Fair assessment?
Yeah, and it's going to be matchups again, and it's going to be, again, we talked about their last time on the field was a 38-0 loss to Polo. So it's like they've had to think of that since last October, November time, right? So it's been a long time coming for Friday night, and it's going to be a new set of guys that with the same motivation and the same goals of what they want to be. And it's like Joe said, they are taking that next step, and it's going to be how they match up with this team. And Martinsville is the first one on the calendar for them, and you can only beat who's in front of you. And, Martinsville is that team.
And also, Kyle, they got to be excited, the whole South Fork football community, to have Colton Puchetti back in uniform. Suffered that devastating injury Week 1 last year. I know I'm excited to see the kid play here at some point this year. I may not be able to say. What's that?
I'm not from Kincaid, and I'm excited to see him play.
Right. So I may not be able to check out this game, but definitely excited to see him at some point this season, obviously. So, I think you're going to see South Fork, make a statement early. Now, on the Martinsville side of things, obviously a new coach, sometimes that can lead to a new culture. But again, Martinsville, I don't have a lot of info on them, but they're a small school. Their enrollment's under 90, so you don't know what they have for numbers, obviously.
I know that they have Gabe Griffin back, which he's been
Right.
a substantial running back for them over the
Right.
past 2 years. So he's going to be a third year, maybe he might even be a fourth year varsity player because I can't remember what he did his freshman year, but he's entering his senior year now. And I know he's put together good sophomore and junior seasons. And there's a couple other guys I happen to find out that they do have coming back. I think they have a total of 4, maybe 5 returning starters back on this team that consume both sides of the ball, obviously, being that they're the size of the school that they are. And under a new head coach, not that Coach Baird was a bad coach, that's not saying anything. I think they just ran into a buzzsaw being in the South Division with up-and-coming teams, and they hit some weak spots there.
You're going to have that. You see that with enrollment-wise. When you say there are 90 kids school playing 8-man football and what you're going against in some of these schools, you're going to have that. And you're going to have the growing pains of a year or two you struggle to put a football team together, and a couple years after that you have groups of kids that come through that get you through. But that's the nature of the beast in small school football.
Yeah, I think the key for Martinsville will be, guys, last year they still were able to score some points, so they couldn't stop anybody. So they're going to have to improve defensively over last year if they want to, be better than that 3-6 from a season ago.
Next game we're going to talk about is Merdian at Pal Hut. Last season, Merdian went 4-6, lost in the first round of the playoffs to Milledgeville, 66-16. Pal Hut went 0-9. This game was a matchup last season in Week 4 where Merdian won 60-16. Joe, you were pretty high on Merdian in the state rankings this year, albeit they're in our receiving votes for our NUIC football panel state rankings to start the season, which I think is a good spot for them considering that they were 4-6. At the same time, in talking to other coaches like Pawnee's head coach Josh Talley, Coach Zach Hamlin at South Fork, Coach Mike Cook at Metro East Lutheran, there's a lot of talk about this Merdian team really being at another level with a year of 8-man football under their belts, the skill position guys that they have coming back as well. So there's definitely a lot of excitement here for Merdian entering 2026.
Yeah, for sure. Like you touched on, all those other coaches in that South Division are high on this team. They bring back all their skill position guys. They bring back their leading tackler on defense. Only lost 3 seniors from last year's team. So, that's always a positive too, obviously. And I've heard a couple different coaches say that Merdian does some different things that a lot of other teams, 8-man teams, don't do. Now, what that is, I don't know for sure. But they run, I think, basically just some different type of schemes on offense and defense. So, which makes it a little bit harder to prepare to play this team. So, and then obviously they're going against a Pal Hut team who struggled last year. But I think you're going to see Merdian make a statement again, kind of like I feel like you're going to see South Fork make a statement here in Week 1.
Jay, what's your thoughts on this game?
Well, I think anytime you bring back skill players on both sides of the football, your athletes, your receivers, running back, quarterbacks for any team, I think you're ahead of the game, right? And they coming off a playoff, even though they had to be unfortunate enough to play Milledgeville round 1 last year, they still made that charge, probably looking and talking, let's get better than 4-5, so that first round matchup ain't against the number 1 seed, right? Because that's where you want to kind of stay away from. Let's improve on that, and the way you improve on that is playing a team that hasn't had much success, didn't win a game last year. You bring back your skill players Week 1, and you should be ahead of the game. And like Joe said, look for Merdian to come out and play good football.
And that's another thing, too. When you take a look at the South Division, you got 3 teams that were 4-5 a season ago. Granted, I think out of all of those, Unity Christian probably loses the most. They graduated a very talented senior class, and clearly injury kind of derailed where they were at and where they were projected to be at as the season went on. And then ultimately it kept them out of the playoffs all at the same time. But I think there's definitely a lot of upside in Merdian, but that just goes to speak to the volume of what we've already been discussing with the South Division. It's going to be a lot more interesting and impactful across all of 8-man football this year.
Yeah, for sure. And when you talk about that, Kyle, it just makes you think about you got to win some of these upper echelon teams in the South Division. You got to win the games you're supposed to win, right? If you want to get to where you're, or where your goals are at. So, these teams can't slip up in a game that, on paper that they're supposed to win by a pretty solid margin.
I agree. Obviously, this one should be a blowout for Merdian in week 1. Taking a look at the next game, speaking of Unity Christian, it's Unity Christian at Pawnee. Unity Christian went 4-5 last year, missed out on the playoffs after the week 9 extravaganza that we saw take place. Pawnee went 9-2, losing in the quarterfinals to Amboy, the second consecutive year that Amboy has taken down the Indians in the playoffs. The year prior was the semifinals. Last year, the quarterfinals. Amboy won that game 64-6. This game also took place in week 4 a season ago, where Pawnee won that game 41-8. Joe, taking a look at what Coach Talley has coming back. Yes, he loses the all-time passing leader in Wart. He had one of the top rushers of I8FA history the season before graduate, but still has quite a bit of talent returning going into 2026. And with that, his expectations continue to be the same and or higher year after year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Pawnee, they've built they got something building down there for sure. As you said, 9-2 last year. And again, they did lose Caden Ward. Ty Liederbrand is a candidate to step in and fill that quarterback spot. He's a junior. Kind of like their rival South Fork, Pawnee with a very strong junior class. And they also got a nice mixture of some seniors with some leadership there too. So I look for a very solid year from Pawnee again here. Unity Christian, as you said, Kyle, they made it right up to that last day last year. They were right in the conversation for that last playoff spot, but fell short. They did lose some key seniors. So I look for Pawnee to win this one here by a sizable margin, but who knows? We'll see.
Well, and that's one of those things too. I noticed, UC is going with a new head coach this year in Matt Schubert. So Jordan Hopman was the head coach, had stepped down. They brought in a new head coach, rebranded from Decatur Lutheran to Unity Christian. Jordan Hopman came back last season, has since stepped back down because I think he's in an administrative role now anyway. But they have a new head coach here in Matt Schubert. It'll be interesting to see what the Lions can do under Coach Schubert, but there seems to be a lot of excitement around him as well.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get a new coach, there's some excitement, right? So in Unity Christian, as we said, 4-5 last year, so they were close, but we'll see what Coach Schubert can do here this season here. But tough test to start the year at Pawnee.
I agree. I think Pawnee's going to get out the blocks kicking where they need to be. I think they win this one big. All right, Blue Ridge at West Prairie. Both teams went 1-late last season. They didn't play each other last season. This is really an east side of the state meets west side of the state type of game here. Not a lot of history between these two, and quite frankly, not a lot of playoff history in I8FA since both teams have joined either. West Prairie also has a new head coach this year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And, well, Blue Ridge is where Blue Ridge is at. What's your thoughts on this game, Joe? Anything to look for that could help the rest of 8-man football and or each of these teams as we look at week 1?
Yeah, no, I don't have too much on this game, guys. As you said, Kyle, both teams 1-8 last year, and so if you're going off of that, both these teams probably looking at their schedule, or not a lot of games where you're like, okay, here's one we can get. So this is one that probably both of these teams are looking at. Okay, hey, we can start 1-0 here, and then just kind of hope that springboards them the rest of the way. So even though it's definitely not a marquee matchup, it's still probably both of these teams looking at this a very important game here to start off 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, taking a look at West Prairie's schedule, Coach Mark Benson is the new head coach for the Cyclones. They have 4 teams that were in the playoffs a season ago, still with the likes of Ridgewood and Unity Christian, both teams that finished 4-5 last season, just missing out on the playoffs. In this game, or on their schedule, this year. Blue Ridge, likewise, also has West Central on their schedule, FCW, MCP, St. Anne, and Metro East Lutheran. So they, too, also have 4 teams that were playoff teams a season ago. Looking at what both have, I think there's opportunities, provided that things are moving in the right direction, that, like you stated, if the winner of this game sets themselves up going into week 2, with opportunities to pick up a couple wins down the road, and then from there it becomes a gamble on what can happen, and maybe they might find lightning in a bottle and take off with it. All right. Who do you think's going to win, Joe?
I'm going to go with West Prairie.
Yeah. Jay?
Blue Ridge, baby.
Oh, baby. All right.
Going opposite of Joe.
I'm going to pick the same with Joe. I got West Prairie. Anyway, we'll be right back when we return right after this.
When it comes to your home, shop, garage, or business, you want a floor that can take whatever you throw at it. That's where Diedrich Epoxy comes in. Diedrich Epoxy provides high-quality epoxy flooring solutions that transform ordinary concrete into a durable, professional-looking service built for everyday use. Whether you're upgrading your garage, shop, commercial space, or workspace, Diedrich Epoxy has you covered. Tough, clean, professional, built to last. Don't settle for a floor that just looks good today. Invest in a floor that's ready for tomorrow. Diedrich Epoxy. Strong floors for wherever life happens. Give Diedrich Epoxy a call at 815-988-2389. Check out Diedrich Epoxy a day and see what they can do for your space. When it comes to precision, quality, and getting the job done right, Rockford Molded Products is a name you can trust. Rockford Molded Products specializes in high-quality plastic injection molding, product assembly, custom fabrication, and precision work, delivering dependable solutions with a commitment to quality and customer service. Family-owned and operated, Rockford Molded Products has been serving customers since 1943. For quality you can count on, contact Rockford Molded Products at 815-637-0585. Rockford Molded Products. Quality is more than a buzzword. It's the way they do business.
Hey there, local high school football fans. This is Sean Considine, a Byron Tiger and Iowa Hawkeye alumni and now an LPL financial advisor. I'm passionate about high school football because it's the purest form of the game where communities come together, lifelong character is built, and the love for football runs deeper than the scoreboard. You can find me in my Byron office most days until I run off to football practice. I'm happy to talk about football or the markets. I'll leave that up to you. I want to wish everyone across Illinois a safe, successful, and memorable high school football season. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Thinking about buying or selling a home? Trust the team that knows this area better than anyone, Best Realty. Whether you're looking for your first home, upgrading for more space, or relocating, Best Realty is committed to making the process smooth, honest, and successful. With deep roots in our local communities and a track record of results, Best Realty isn't just in the business of homes, they're in the business of helping families take the next step. Best Realty, local experts, real results, real people. Call today and move with confidence.
Welcome back. The next game we have is Hiawatha at MCP. Last year, Hiawatha was 5-5, lost in the first round to Polo 36-14. MCP was 6-4 a season ago, losing in the first round to Amboy 68-8. Obviously, these teams did not meet last season. Both of them are playoff teams. Both of them are annual playoff teams over the last several years now. Joe, I didn't receive a lot of feedback from Coach McPeak on Hiawatha, and obviously we've talked to Coach Schwartz down at MCP, and while he has to replace an all-stater and Dirks Newcomb, he's got a lot of good guys coming back that are going to definitely help keep the Bearcats moving in the direction we tend to see them, and that's being competitive, making the playoffs with the opportunity to try and make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, for sure. They got MCP, the Bearcats, 6 starters back on offense and 5 back on defense. So, they bring back just about everyone other than Dirks Newcomb. Guys like Mario Martinez, Jace Comstock, Skylar Este. So, they got all the big names back on offense other than Newcomb. So they're going to have a sophomore in taking over at quarterback. Maddox Muling's his name. So we'll see what he can do here. As far as Hiawatha, I believe they bring back 3 to 4 starters on both sides of the ball. But I really like this MCP team this year, guys. It's kind of a tough draw here for Hiawatha, in my opinion, having to go to MCP on Saturday night here to open the season. But again, if you're MCP, I think this is a chance to make a statement here against a team that has been in the playoffs just like they have here. I look for MCP big in this one.
When you look at both were around that 500 mark, games like this, the home team has to win. You have to protect your home field in an MCP team that brings, a good group back. And for Hiawatha, you're going on the road and you got to go into a tough game first round or first week of the game. So if you're looking on paper, it could be a tight game, but a MCP team, if they want to be where they want to be come week 9, they have to get the job done at home.
Yeah, totally agree there. And Jay, being that you're off the sidelines now, you've had a lot of interesting matchups with Hiawatha in your time.
Yeah. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Austin Guy game back in the day. So, love Hiawatha, playing at Hiawatha. I think that's a great place to go. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's like one of those you're driving down a back road and you come to Hiawatha and you see a football field. So, very, very cool to play there. But I have not been to MCP. But Hiawatha always has those 2, 3, 4 athletes even the years we played them in 8-man, and that's what always gives you fits in 8-man football. You have 2 or 3 guys that are just better dudes than your dudes. There's not a whole lot you can do. You get them on an island and you play football, and not knowing what Hiawatha has coming back, but knowing what MCP has coming back should be an interesting thing. But like I said, if MCP wants to be a playoff team and get away from that first round Amboy game again, you got to win. You got to win on Friday night against Hiawatha.
Right.
I totally agree with you there. One of the guys I believe that they do have coming back is that of running back Tim Pruitt as well. So that is a bright spot for Hiawatha as far as having skilled competition coming back and being in that situation to continue to improve upon what they did a season ago. Next game takes us to St. Anne, where they are going to play host to AFC. AFC went 2-7 last year under new head coach Josh Stone. So Coach Stone in his second year guiding the Raiders. St. Anne went 9-2 and lost in the quarters to Polo 46-14. These two teams didn't meet last season. Obviously, AFC lost a lot of their key players from a season ago. I think it's going to be pretty hard for Coach Stone to get the Raiders into a good spot. On the other side of things, Coach Rude continues to build St. Anne into being a team that we're talking about on a yearly basis. And, their first 2 years in 8-man football, they've made it to the quarterfinals both years.
Yeah, for sure. The thing I'll be able to see here in week 1, guys, for St. Anne They lost, all their main skill guys from last year. So be interested to see who some of the new names are going to be for St. Anne this year. Obviously got them favored heavily in this one, as you said. I think AFC, they're going to be a young team. Again, a lot of guys with probably not a lot of varsity experience. So look for St. Anne to win this one big. And again, looking forward to see who some of these new names will be for the Cardinals this year. See if they can pick up where some of those seniors left off.
Yeah, they've definitely been blessed with some good talent the last 2 years. Can that continue? Obviously, Gavin Threm is the name that stands out the most with St. Anne coming back this year. And I know, like you said, there's going to be a couple other guys that are really going to start to stand out or are going to need to step up and then start standing out for St. Anne to be back where we've seen them each of the last 2 seasons. An interesting one here is Christian Life at Kankakee Trinity. Christian Life was 2-7 a season ago. Kankakee Trinity, a first-year program. Never had football before at Kankakee Trinity, and honestly, I don't have information on either one of these teams. Joe, do you have any information on them?
No, I really don't, Kyle. As you said, Kankakee Trinity be playing their first game ever here in 8-man, and a Christian Life team that went 2-7 last year. So, probably a good opportunity for both of these teams to maybe start the season 1-0 here. So, hopefully we know a little bit more about these teams after this week 1 game.
Yeah, I'm still very interested to see what Kankakee Trinity is going to do. Because, there's nothing really listed here on who their head coach is, what their enrollment is.
They're the mystery team.
Yeah.
It's like when
that can be scary.
When you were young and you pulled out of the cereal box and it had the mystery thing. They're the mystery team. So they show up with like 12 dudes on their team and you're wondering what's going on.
Yeah. Even in the enrollment section on IHSA's website, it has an enrollment of 0.
Well, hopefully they got at least 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Peoria Heights at St. Thomas More. Peoria Heights went 1-8 a season ago. St. Thomas More went 2-7. Last year was the first year for Kerry Matthews at St. Thomas More as head coach. Likewise, Peoria Heights has a new head coach after Kendall Parker had stepped down to move into a new position at another school. So both teams relatively new to their respective areas. Interested to see what actually happens here in this game. I would have to, from what I've heard, I should say, Peoria Heights seems like the team that a lot of people are starting to put a little buzz around, but at the same time, we have not seen them have much success since coming to I8FA.
Yeah, no, they've definitely struggled here the first few years at I8FA, and St. Thomas More, of course, they had a couple pretty good years there starting out. The Peace Bumba era obviously kind of fell off a little bit last season. So again, though, this is one of those game guys where you look at it and it's like both these teams struggled last year, but here's a good opportunity for both these teams to start the season 1-0 here, or for one of them to start 1-0, and maybe it can jolt them some energy here the rest of the way. So, a non-conference matchup here. So, be a good test for both these teams and see who can get to 1-0 here.
Again, St. Thomas More got to win at home.
Yep.
Both teams were way below 500 last year, probably did not do what they wanted to do. You want to get off to a 1-0 start, win your home games.
Yeah, totally agree.
That's my pick, St. Thomas More.
I agree. I think St. Thomas More is definitely going to be the team that has the head up, especially with Kerry Matthews being in year 2. Don't have a lot of information on them right now, but I think we're going to garner some more information. I did see something come out earlier today across the News Gazette, so need to go do some reading up, see what they got. Anyway, we'll be right back right after this break.
Ready to outfit your team or gear up for the season? Get trusted service, custom designs, and hometown commitment from Breedlove Sporting Goods, serving Kewanee and the surrounding communities since 1949. From quality athletic equipment, team uniforms, screen printing, and embroidery to trophies and awards, Breedlove's has what you need to compete with confidence. Whether you're a coach, an athlete, or a supporter of local sports, they've got you covered. Call them today at 309-852-2434 to outfit your squad, customize your gear, or plan your next fundraiser. That's 309-852-2434. Breedlove Sporting Goods. Support local champions and get ready to play hard and finish strong.
Need a fresh look? Look no further than Neff Paints, where quality meets craftsmanship. From gyms and locker rooms to living rooms and home projects, Neff Paints has you covered with top-tier products and expert service. Trusted by local pros and proud supporters of our area athletes, Neff Paints brings the durability, color, and finish that lasts. Ready to get started? Call Skylar at 815-541-7338 and take the first step toward your next transformation. Neff Paints, locally owned, community driven, quality you can see. Are you looking to raise funds for your program? Look no further than Leading Edge Fundraising, helping teams and programs raise more with less hassle. Whether you're gearing up for a new season or trying to hit a financial goal, Leading Edge has the tools, products, and experience to get you there. From youth clubs to varsity programs, they've helped teams across Illinois maximize profits and minimize stress. Want fundraising that actually works? Go with the local experts who know how to win off the field too. Contact Brandon at 563-514-1647. Leading Edge Fundraising, raising the standard. Reach out today and take your program to the next level.
We're back, and now we're talking about the three-time defending state champion Amboy Clippers as they hit the road to Hebron to play Alden Hebron. Amboy was 12-1 a season ago, won their third state championship, making their fourth consecutive appearance to the state finals. Alden Hebron went 7-3, lost in the first round to conference rival South Beloit 37-6. These two teams did not play last season as Amboy was in that West Division with their lone non-conference game in Week 1 against Milledgeville in a rematch of the 2024 state championship game. But when you take a look at this game and these teams, obviously Alden Hebron was not a team that we had in our opening state rankings, but they were in our state rankings a season ago. They do have some good players that are returning this year as well. Amboy obviously loaded, as we've talked about last week, Joe. We'll start here. What does Alden Hebron have to do being at home to try to slow down the juggernaut that are the Amboy Clippers?
So I think the first thing is, of course, you got Coach Lawler. He's been doing this as long as anybody, so he will have a game plan. One thing that hurt Alden Hebron last year, guys, they just couldn't stay healthy. So if you're Alden Hebron, I mentioned this on the Spotlight podcast earlier in the week. If you know Amboy's on your schedule, if you're Alden Hebron, no better time to play him than Week 1, right? Probably the healthiest you're going to be all season, and Amboy doesn't have any film on you, right? Other than what they get from last year or the year before. So if you're looking for positives, for Alden Hebron,
and you got
that's
8
where you
weeks
start.
to get over Week 1.
What's that, Jay?
I said, and you got 8 weeks to get it over Week 1.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Alden Hebron try to slow this game down, use 38 seconds to 40 seconds that play clock, you pick up a first down or two, you can kill half the quarter, right? Maybe pull out a couple wrinkles here and there. So, I'll be interested to see. I think Alden Heber's going to be much improved. I know they didn't make our top 10, Kyle, and I didn't have my top 10, but I have them right on the outside looking. I think they're going to have a pretty solid year if they stay healthy. But again, Amboy's Amboy. They're just so talented. And I think this is one of these games where I still think Amboy is gonna win pretty heavily, but I'm interested to see how Alden Heber competes in this one, especially in the first quarter, into the second quarter if things start to get out of hand a little bit. Yeah, we talked about Amboy, what they got coming back, and I'll be interested to see, if the Clippers do anything different on offense this year as well. So we'll see what happens in this one. But obviously, Amboy, I like them big here. But I definitely want to see how Alden Heber competes in this one.
Yeah, and it's any team like that. Amboy brings everybody back. Alden Heber, you rather see a team like that week one. We say that with like Lee Wynn. We see that every year with Lee Wynn. They kind of usually win, but they win differently come playoff time, right? It's like they're a different team come week 7 through 9 in playoffs than they are week 1 through 3. They're kind of feeling themselves out. And I think Amboy maybe will be the same way. Alden Heber does have some guys. I remember seeing them last year, their nose tackle and guys like that can give you fits, and hopefully they can get some high energy. What you want right away for an Alden Hebron is get a stop on defense, maybe get the ball back, wind some clock, maybe get a crazy touchdown or something to kind of take some of that Amboy, away from you. But what you can't have happen if you're Alden Hebron is first or second play touchdown right up the gut and not stop anybody. That's when the floodgates can happen, and that's when it becomes a long Friday night. And you're talking about the 52 basketball state championship team. Those are things that can happen. So, it comes to an Alden Hebron team that you just want to see the fight, right? You want to see fight for 4 quarters against probably the top-ranked team in the state. And what type of fight are you going to have week 7, 8, 9 is going to dictate what you do this game. Because if you come and you lay down week 1 and you give up 2-play touchdown, 3-play touchdown, that's not what you want to see week 1. Right. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's ready to go. Everybody should be fired up. And this is going to be one of the best shots you're going to have to see what you're made of against one of the top teams in the state.
Yeah.
They got a guy in Caleb Linneman, only going to be a junior. We've been talking about him, seems like forever. He's only a junior. He's a running back guy that can get the tough yards. He can get those 3-4 yards every time. I think the Giants got to give him 25 touches in this one and hope he can grind out, 3 yards in a cloud of dust every time, and they can control the clock here a little bit. I think that's their best chance to stay in this one as long as they can.
Yeah, sometimes you got to use your offense to be your defense, right?
Correct.
That's how you pull off upsets. You manage your time on the clock, and you sustain drives.
Yeah, the less times that Colt McCoy,
your guy,
my guy, and Eddie Lopez,
Jose, my guy,
your guy, touch the ball, the better for the Alden Hebron.
Yeah, and I have to give Jose a quick shout out because we just did our View from the West fantasy draft before the start of the season. Jose was one of the guys on my draft board because obviously we're looking at, touchdowns like true fantasy league. And Jose being an 1,800-yard guy, a 20-plus touchdown guy, one of the top running backs that were available to us to pick. And my boy Mitch was able to grab Jose before I could. So, Jose, like I said, you were on my draft board, but unfortunately I didn't get around to it. I did get a great one, though, in Mercer Mumford, so I'm not going to – not
Joe's
too
guy.
sad. Yeah, Joe's guy.
Yeah.
So I'm not too sad because – I got Mercer, but I was looking to do the double on my swing pick and grab Jose and Mercer in the same round, but didn't happen. Anyway, Amboy wins big in my opinion here. Let's go to Milledgeville. Joe, we talked about this game last week. Galva comes to Milledgeville to play the Missiles. And obviously, this isn't the same Missiles team that we're used to seeing since their inception of 8-man football. But a season ago, Milledgeville was 11-1, losing in the semifinals to Amboy 18-8. Albeit Milledgeville was ranked number 1 after that week 1 win over Amboy, retained that number 1 ranking the remainder of the season. We're the number 1 seed in the playoffs as well. Galva was able to storm back, make the playoffs at 5-4, finish with a 5-5 record. They lost to South Fork in the first round, 52-6. These two teams did not play last year, but there is a lot of upside for Galva and a lot of talk about Galva being in the mix in that new Central West division with the likes of Ridgewood and West Central, and obviously an opportunity to make a run at the playoffs, a better seeding opportunity as well. And as you stated last week, wouldn't it be something if Galva goes into the likes of Floyd Daub Field and pulls off a big win?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, that would be a big program-changing win, in my opinion. Even though, as down as we are on Milledgeville for this year, you know, a team like Galva, who has struggled in the past until last season, to go in there and get a win would be huge for their program. The talk of this game, guys, is going to be both quarterbacks, MJ Lauk for Galva and Kyson Francis for Milledgeville. I mean, these two guys, Kyle, are going to have the ball in their hands probably 90% of the time, right? Unless there's somebody on these teams I don't know about. These two guys are going to have the ball a lot. They're going to have a big say in the outcome of this game. I did say earlier in the week on my podcast that the loser of this game will not make the playoffs. So I think it's that big of a game as far as who wins and who loses. I just don't see the loser of this game getting in the playoffs. So, and again, I could be wrong, but and not that the winner's a guarantee. But the loser of this game, I think, is going to have a hard time getting into the playoffs, getting to 5-4. So a big game here in Milledgeville to start the year. And Kyle, I'm not maybe as big on Galva as some of the other people. I know you said when you put them in your rankings there to start the year, you kind of got some kickback from some Galva fans saying they should be higher. But, man, they lost a lot, Kyle. So I'm not – I need to see it. I'm not doubting Galva. Coach Anderson – talked to him a few times. He's a motivator. He's got this program going in the right direction, but they lost quite a few seniors in that 5-5 playoff team last year. So I need to see a little bit on the field before I become a believer like I did last year in Galva. And for Milledgeville, right? Like, we just want to see, we know they're going to be down. We know they're not the Milledgeville the first 5 years in 8-man, but we want to see them, you know, come out, Floyd Daub Field, home opener, and we want to see them compete and see what they can do.
Jay, as a former coach, still coach of our show, though. But
you can still call me Coach Kyle.
All right. Coach Doyle. I love it, by the way. Regardless, when you take a look at a team like Milledgeville, you have an all-stater and a quarterback returning.
You guys keep saying we are down on Milledgeville. Maybe you and Kyle are.
I am. Yeah.
But I'll tell you this. They're not going to have the season they had last year, right? And you're not going to have that in what I feel is 8-man football, the 100 kid enrollment. You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have that. But here's what I can guarantee you in coaching against Coach Roble, his teams, his program, what he stands for is you're going to go and play a Milledgeville team week in and week out, and they're going to be physically fit, ready to whoop some ass, and well coached. Those are things that are going to be, whether they are 2-7 or 9-0, they're going to show up each week and be ready to go. And it's like everything that's going on there, and everybody, you know, the thing that I remember Coach G would always say, it's like you always find out who's with you, because when it gets tough, the rats jump off the ship. Right?
Yep.
That's what happens when times are tough. That's when you find out who's with you and who's against you. And those are things that we always talked about as a program, because you're not going to always have a 9-0 team when you have a 100-kid enrollment, right? You're going to have your down years. And I remember playing Milledgeville when they were really tough, and they lost that game in 11-man against my guy in Forston.
Oh, yeah.
And then we played them like the year or two later.
Garrett Bodicher.
Yep. And they were like, then they had a 2-win team a year or two later. But that 2-win team hit just as hard and played just as hard as that 9-0 team. I guarantee you, whoever lines up in Milledgeville on Friday night is going to be ready to play football and play for Coach Roble. And that I know. And looking, I had you bring up their schedule, because that's one of the things, where they're going to be at. And they got a schedule of Galva, Rockford Christian Life, Orangeville, tough Polo team, AFC, a tough West Carroll team, Amboy, River Ridge, and then Alden Hebron.
There's some wins there for sure.
There are some wins there, and it's like
potential wins.
Yeah, there are potential wins, and it's you got to stay healthy. You got a quarterback that can play, and then you match things around it.
Yeah,
and you play 9 games of football. But what teaches you in a season and games like this is, who's with you, who's against you, and who's going to go to battle for you.
I'm with you, big guy.
Oh, talk to me, baby.
So
I know.
Now, Jay, does that mean you're picking Milledgeville here in this one?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Milledgeville. I'm
right.
I don't know where the hell Galva's at, and I don't know what they got. But I'm telling you right now, when you got a
area, Jay.
Quad City, well, they got to drive up here. Whatever the heck's going on, Coach Roble is a guy that I, as a player, would play for. Right?
Oh yeah.
No nonsense. Let's get to work. Let's play football. I always enjoyed coaching against his teams because
Coach Roble is going to kick your ass.
Coach Roble could kick my ass. And I always said that. If there was we would always joke about that. If a fight broke out and we had to beat the asses of the other coaches, what would happen? I guarantee Coach Roble would kick my ass.
Yeah.
That I know for a fact.
Not run into that guy.
but it's one of those things to where it's like, I just like the way his teams play. I like the way they do it. And if Galva goes in and beats him, Galva played a good game and they beat a team that was ready to go. Like, that's what you get out of that team.
So my question I was going to ask you, and I do appreciate the runoff of what you talked about Milledgeville, because Joe echoed that exact same sentiment last week on our preview show.
Yep.
And I think we all agree that no matter what Milledgeville is record-wise, you're always going to get their very best.
There are always teams out there, and Joe, Kyle, we've been around long enough that the teams that we need to get a win, who you're ready to play, right? And you play and then there's the dangerous ones that aren't very good, but that they can get you, right? That 50-50 game that, man, those kids are just tougher than our kids, or those kids are that. And Milledgeville this year will be that team. They're not going to have the numbers, and they're not going to have the players, and they're not going to have the names you heard of, but they're going to have kids that are going to play hard for them. And that goes a long way in the 50-50 games in some of the matchups that they have. Now it's going to be hard for them against Amboy, but guess what? All 13 probably teams that play Amboy are going to have a tough time against Amboy, right?
Yeah.
That's not a news flash to anybody, but you watch them against Galva, you watch them against Christian Life, big matchup versus at Orangeville. What are they going to do in that game? Those are the games that, coaching matters and toughness matters, and we'll see what happens.
So, being that you've been around the 8-man game since Orangeville moved to 8-man back in 2021, and you've been a coach in a state championship game as well. In the 8-man game, who do you find to be the hardest position player to replace?
Well, I think if you have a running back, you can do anything, right? And we see that with your guy Bailey Lopez, what Orangeville had with Schofield the last couple of years. I mean, if you have that guy that's just better than everybody else, you're going to win
a lot
3
of
games, right? You're going to win
and faster,
because
faster.
I just have a guy that's better than your guy. That's the difference between 11-man and 8-man football, right? Because in 8-man football, it's a defensive thing to where it's like, it's a weird thing. I don't know I'm not that smart in it, but it's like you drop your defense and you're always a guy short in 8-man.
Yeah.
you have 11 man and it's like, oh, I always got the safety. I can roll over and I can play a different coverage and I can do this and match that. When you get past that second level, you don't have that kid playing punter that's going to bring a guy down for a 20-yard loss. It's a touchdown in 8-man. So you have a running back that is the difference maker of any team that you're going to play. Running matters. You talk about, having a good quarterback or a receiver. It's like you can roll a guy over, but if you can run the football, that's the toughest thing to do. And you've seen that with an Orangeville team with Lobdell. You've seen that with the Polos, with the Mumfords, and you go down the list of the Saltos and everything like that. Amboy has the monsters they got this year. It's like, how do you stop them? Right? Like you don't have anybody over the top. That's the toughest challenge in 8-man football.
A Hall of Fame coach once told me, you got to put your pant leg on your right leg and your left leg all the same. It's true. But
all right, so
you're not wrong.
Kyle,
go ahead, Joe. Yeah.
Kyle, who are you picking here? Jay's going Milledgeville.
It's tough for me. I think Galvin can be a playoff team once again, but I definitely agree with Jay. And if you take a look at the northwest corner of the state, we've talked about it. Since 2019, a northwest corner state team has been in every state championship game.
Right.
And they've won every one but one. There's a level of play up here that just breeds a little bit harder than other parts of the state. The physicality of how we play football in the northwest corner is just a little bit different. That hasn't always been the case, but in recent history, that's very much the case. I think I think this is a great game.
Yes.
I think Milledgeville's playoff hopes also rest on winning game 1.
Correct.
And I think that being at home favors Milledgeville.
Okay. It's tough for me, but I'm going to pick Galva here. I would not be surprised if Milledgeville wins, but I'm picking Galva in this one.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell you what Polo has coming back besides their quarterback, but Milledgeville, right? So it's like
the other team on the laptop.
Yeah, but it's like one of those things to where it's like you just, it's kind of one of those things you see it year in and year out of what they bring to the table, and it's like, maybe they're not very good. I don't know.
I
guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I think we're going to find some things out about Milledgeville rather quickly. I mean, obviously, I think Galva would be the favorite in this game. If you put it in a rating system, because there's no games played, it's going to say Milledgeville, but we both know the reality there.
Right.
I do think Milledgeville has still a leg up.
Yeah, and to go back on my comment, what Coach G and I would talk about with the ships and everything like that. The what I'm paraphrasing is it's like everybody loves you when you're 8-0, 9-0, and then all of a sudden you start losing games, and it's like everybody like
bails out.
Bails out and forgets about you, and it's like that's what he would always say is like there's no difference in anything. Their coaching staff is still going to be a good coaching staff, whether the team they had this year to last year. I think in these games where it's like I don't know who's going to be what week 1. And Galva may be a hell of a team by week 5 or 6, but I know week 1, a Milledgeville group with the coaching staff that they got with Coach Roble, I've seen it year in and year out. They're going to be ready to go. And you see that with like the 50-50 games we talked earlier. I'm going to believe in the team that either A, brings a bunch of people back, or if neither bring much back, I'm going to go with a staff that I know has been in the fire. That's
I will say too, guys, you just get this feeling Milledgeville understands the importance of this game, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you look at their schedule, if they can get this one, 2 winnable games after this, as down as I am on Milledgeville, they get this one, they could easily start the year 3-0. You know what I mean? So
maybe 1. Yeah. Who knows?
So this is a big game for Milledgeville, a chance for them to prove me wrong. I've been down on them a little bit in all these preseason podcasts, so we'll see what happens here. This is going to be a fun one.
All right. BPC at Polo. Polo was 11-2 last year, lost in the state championship game 30-20 to Amboy. BPC went 1-8 a season ago. These two teams played each other back in week 1, Polo winning 50-0. Obviously, BPC has some kids returning, one of them being their running back. Polo obviously has Mr. Everything coming back in Mercer Mumford.
And he's here week 1.
Yeah, he's here week 1.
He's here.
He's not missing week 1 or 2. He's here. And he better show up because he's on my fantasy team. Mercer, you got that? I need some touchdowns, buddy.
As I will say this, as much as the sun comes up in the west or east or whatever the hell it comes up in, Mumford will score touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's like a guaranteed thing. If Mumford is on the field, he is going to score tutties. That is for sure.
You know, guys, I'm looking forward to this game. I have this on the radio, obviously, on Friday night. But, Jay, you talked about an 8-man when you got a running back, when you got a guy. You know, obviously Pole's got Mumford, but I'm sure BPC feels that way with Jonathan Harrell. He had 20 touchdowns last year, had 1,500 all-purpose yards. He's only a junior. You know, Mumford and Harrell, these are two of the fastest guys in the state, guys, in all 8-man football here. We could see some fireworks possibly here in Polo on Friday night with as fast as these two kids are.
Well, let's not be remiss either. Jonathan Harrell is closing in on 3,000 career rushing yards going into his junior year already. And with that, I mean, we're talking if he stays healthy, he could potentially start nipping the heels of that top 5 all-time rushing record as well. And provided BPC can put some people around him. The problem is that BPC has not been a winning program over the last 2 years. Can that change in a Central West division, plus with the team that has been in every semifinal game since 2019 in the Polo Marcos? Can that change with that look of the new conference alignments, but then the non-conference schedule that BPC has?
Right. You know, you guys, obviously, Polo will be the favorite in this one. I will say, though, BPC 1-8 last year, but only had 3 seniors on the roster. And only really one that got a lot of playing time. So they bring back basically 7 starters on both sides of the ball. So I know they were 1-8, but they're definitely bringing back some guys with some experience, right? So I still look for Polo to win, but I'm really going to be interested to see how BPC plays throughout this game, you know. In Polo, we talk about Mumford. They got some other guys back, too. They lost some guys up front. So for me, being a Polo guy, the biggest thing I'm interested in is what the line's going to look like. You know, they got the skill guys, you know, Mumford, Jordan Reed, guys like that. So they'll be fine there. But for me, I'm interested to see how Polo looks on the offensive and defensive lines this year, or in week 1, I should say.
Again, like when we talk about these teams and you talk about Polo, the number one thing when you think talent-wise, you take away – you know, one thing that's going to happen on Friday, and that's going to be coach is going to have them ready, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing, like you go into week 1, nerves, everything like that. Coach Austin's been there before. He will put them in position to make big plays early. It's at Polo. BPC has their work cut out for him because you can play a lot of young guys, but you were 1-8. You're going into this year, but you're going into one of the best 8-man teams on record, right? So it's like you're going to be fighting that. You're going to be fighting a group of kids that know what the heck they're doing, and it's going to be a big challenge for them. But my thing will be, it's like, how are you going to slow down Mumford? Because there hasn't been many teams that have been able to do that. And, you know, now being a senior, he is, you know, at that level of playing against everybody his age or younger, and that you're not playing up. So,
Yeah,
I think he'll have a big game, and he'll make Kyle happy.
he's going to have a big year. Big year. But I am very excited about Jonathan Errol, too. I think that we can see a lot of fireworks with him, and it would be interesting to see what BPC can do against a Polo team. I think size-wise, up front, they're going to outsize Polo.
Right.
And to get off the ball fast enough, because let's be honest, as Jay's already stated, it's not so much about size in the 8-man game. It's about how quick you can get off the ball and create a gap. And if you're able to create just enough gap for a player at the level of Mumford, he's going to be gone in a second. So that's what I'm looking for. Also, Polo is ranked number 2 in the state to open up the state rankings. And with that, they need to win this game in order to really show that they are the number 2 ranked team in state, in my opinion. Anyway, Polo big. Ridgewood at River Ridge. Both teams went 4-5 a season ago. However, these two teams did meet in week 1 a season ago as well. Ridgewood won that game 50-14. Joe, I'm gonna give it to you. You watched Ridgewood at the freshman level a season ago. There's a lot of excitement.
That's Joe talked about him last year.
Yeah,
I did.
There's a lot of excitement around this Ridgewood team, on a team that missed the playoffs for the first time since coming to 8-man football, being right there on the cusp, but now being a year older, returning quite a few guys, knowing that they were going to be a young team a season ago. And here they are. They're talked about in our state rankings already, despite being a 4-5 team, but they have a lot of guys returning for Coach Anderson once again.
Yeah, for sure. They got a nice mixture of seniors, guys with some experience, and of course the sophomore class that I've been talking about since last year when I seen them play as freshmen. I really look for Ridgewood to have a big year here, guys. I think these guys are just football players. I mean, I really think they're going to surprise some people this year. I was glad to see them in the top 10. They made our rankings at number 10. I feel that's probably about where they should be right now starting the season. But Kyle, we also talked about River Ridge. They got a couple skill guys back themselves here. I don't think they're just going to lay down here in week 1. But we know, again, they're low on numbers. Hopefully River Ridge is healthy for this week 1 game. But with Hamish Bowden back, and why is the other guy's name slipping my mind, Kyle?
Bauer.
I apologize there, Caden.
I got you. We're good.
Yeah, with Bauer and the B team, Bauer and Bowden back, River Ridge, they got the skill guys. So if they can get just a little bit up front, see what they can do here. But I still like Ridgewood big in this one. Last year was 50-14 in week 1. I could see something similar to that score this year again, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, obviously a part of me, as I do have a Wildcat sticker on my fridge over here.
Yeah, he does.
I kind of want to see River Ridge kind of rise back up. You go back to the COVID year. They had that undefeated season where a lot of people feel that they could have been the state champs that year. Yep. And missed out on that opportunity due to the COVID stuff that happened. With that, then they graduated a great class, and since then it's just kind of been a slow decline. And obviously, a lot of their coaching staff remains, but Coach Doug Nicholas did step back a couple seasons ago, and Coach Burlog took over, which has kept what River Ridge has been putting together for a while. But, I've talked to those guys several times, even back when they were an 11-man. Hell, one night I had Jay and Doug here at the NUIC studios in the same night. It was a great time. But, looking at where River Ridge is at compared to where Ridgewood is, I can't say I disagree. I think Ridgewood is going to come in as the heavy favorite in this one. River Ridge, obviously, they have Bowden and Bauer back, but they're low on numbers as well. So staying healthy is going to be critical for them. And if River Ridge can get a turnaround season, and I mean, they were 4-5 a season ago,
and they came on late.
Right.
And if they can keep that momentum going, maybe they have that outside chance to get to that 5-4 record to solidify a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's the thing we were looking at here. Game 1 for a Ridgewood team, you have River Ridge. Week 2, Joe,
man,
your Polo Marcos.
Let's stay focused on week 1 here, Jay. I'm already pumped about that enough.
But I mean, you look at their schedule and they go a River Ridge team, a Polo team, a Scioto West Prairie team, a Galva, Peoria Heights, Bushnell, Biggsville. There's a lot of 3-name teams in there that.
They're not conference, so they host Polo and host South Fork, so that's a very, very tough non-conference slate there for Ridgewood.
Yep,
so
you look at a River Ridge team. They start off with the River Ridge team playing Ridgewood. Then they go Kirkland, Polo, West Carroll, Amboy, and then it's Orangeville, Milledgeville, Christian Life, South Beloit. So it's like you look at a game like this, But again, Bauer was their quarterback last. I mean, he can throw a good football, and he can do it. And that's another way of doing it. The only thing, when you're talking to a non-throwing guy, the things that happen in games where you incomplete pass is what happens.
Jay, you were a quarterback. What do you mean non-throwing guy?
Well, I threw completions. When you throw the football and you have incomplete, the clock stops, and that's where games can get out of hand. You just got to make sure you complete a lot of balls, keep the clock running, because that's a way of doing it, and that's another way of scoring touchdowns. But that's where you can get a game that gets out of hand that shouldn't be out of hand.
Right.
But that is an asset for River Ridge, is at the quarterback position coming back. He has to win games for them.
Yeah.
And he has to keep them in games.
Agreed. I do like Ridgewood in the game, Joe. I think I echo that sentiment that you have as well. All right, FCW at West Central. This could have been close to our game of the week. Not quite, but still a very big game that a lot of eyes around the state are going to have their eyes on. West Central was 7-3 a season ago, losing to West Carroll in the first round 42-8. FCW went 6-4, lost in the first round to Pawnee 42-30. These two teams met in week 7 as well. A season ago, West Central won that game 40-32. Joe, what do you got here? Obviously, FCW has a new head coach. They moved out of the West Division to the new Central East Division. Likewise, West Central is a team that most people, not yourself, we've heard you state that you feel Ridgewood is the favorite, but most people have West Central as the favorites in the new Central West Division.
Yeah, so this is a game here where I'm maybe not quite as high on FCW either as a lot of people are here. Right? I know they got a new coach in Aaron Jackson, so that always brings some excitement, right? Only bringing back about 3 starters, though. They had their last 2 graduating classes have been fairly large. So smaller group here, not a lot of starters back. And West Central, of course, I know, Kyle, you're big on the Heat this year. And I am too. I just like Ridgewood a little bit better, but of course, Coach Kirby, he'll have his team prepared. So I like West Central big in this one, though. I just don't know if FCW quite has what they've had in the past.
One of the reasons why I'm big on West Central, obviously they returned Graham Kelly along with a plethora of other players, right? They got 5 or 6 guys back on offense, 6 back on defense, and that's a far cry from where they were a season ago when they had a couple returning starters decide that they weren't going to play.
Right.
And they had to fill in all those gaps, and they still went 7-2 in the regular season, where albeit in that conference championship talk, although we knew that Amboy was going to be the conference champion, but they got to that game with the opportunity to play Amboy with the conference title on the line, and they lost to West Carroll twice, opening game and then the last game of the season in the first round of the playoffs. With that, I think they grew some grit, and they have a lot of returning depth back this year. And that's where I'm high on him. You take a look at Coach Kirby himself. I mean, he's at like his 6th coaching stop now. And I know he's not leaving West Central, because from what I've talked with Coach Kirby about over the last couple of years, you know, he's in a place that he likes to be. Retirement is coming down the road, maybe not right away, obviously, but he's where he wants to be to finish out his career, which is great for him. But he's also been at different stops, different places, and he's seen success at a bunch of different places. Likewise, he's also a state championship coach. I mean, we were just talking about it a little while ago. When you take a look at the northwest corner of the state, they've been in every game, every state championship since 2019. The one winner was Coach Kirby in the West Central Heat back in that 2022 season. And don't forget, they too were also undefeated in that COVID spring season. And there was a lot of conversation around them as also being a team that could have competed for that state championship team had we seen a full season that year as well.
Yeah, for sure. Coach Kirby, he'll have his guys ready. Like he said, they got, I think, 5 starters back on offense, I believe. And Graham Kelly, only a junior. Again, he's one of those kids, Kyle, feels like we've been talking about him a long time, but interested to see what he can do, obviously, this year. Another year under his belt. So, West Central, you take a look at their 7-3 record last year. The better teams on their schedule, they got beat by pretty good, right? West Carroll twice and Amboy once. So, but a lot of teams would have had those scores against those teams. If West Central is going to take that next step, they gotta close that gap, right? So that's why I think West Central can make a statement here and make me a little bit more of a believer, because I feel like FCW is going to be down a little bit. So I look for West Central to make a statement here and win this one fairly easily.
And when you take a look at their schedule, you got to go all the way out to week 7 to find a team where they're going to have. I mean, I don't want to bypass Galva per se, but West Central was pretty heavily favored over Galva last year. I don't see Galva closing the gap that great this year with the amount of returners West Central has. You got to go all the way to that Ridgewood game in week 7 to find a team that can actually have the opportunity to beat West Central. I mean, we talked about it last week too. There's a very great opportunity for West Central to go 9-0 this year.
Yeah.
Likewise, you also stated that if Ridgewood is to win that week 7 game, they too could also go 9-0.
I don't know if Ridgewood can go 9-0, but they can win that division.
Yeah, they got to play
Polo.
Polo.
Win that
remember
Polo and South Fork. I was talking about MCP, Kyle.
Yeah, Joe ain't going against.
Okay.
I had MCP going 9-0. Is who I had.
That's right. You're right.
Not Ridgewood.
Okay.
I'm big on them, but not that big.
Not that big. But West Central does have a great opportunity for 9-0 themselves.
Yeah, they really do. It's there in front of them. They stay healthy.
Go ahead, Jay.
I said, again, you go into a game like this, check the boxes.
Yep.
50-50. Who's at home? Coaches' experience. Yeah, West Central, baby.
The Heat are on fire. Woo. All right. We're going to talk about our I8FA Game of the Week presented by Prairie State Investments when we return right after this.
When it comes to planning for your future, you want someone you can trust. At Prairie State Investments, Mark Pfeiffer is here to help you build a plan that fits your life, your family, and your goals. Whether it's retirement, college savings, or investing wisely for tomorrow, Mark has the knowledge and local commitment to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future up to chance. Call Mark Pfeiffer at Prairie State Investments today at 815-668-8131 and start investing with confidence.
Welcome back. We have our I8FA Game of the week presented by Prairie State Investments. We're on the road to Mount Carroll, where the West Carroll Thunder are going to play host to South Beloit. West Carroll was 8-3 a season ago, losing in the quarterfinals to South Fork 38-13. On the other side, South Beloit also went 8-3, losing in the quarters to Milledgeville 22-6. These two teams met up back in week 8. West Carroll won that game 41-22. This is a 7 p.m. kickoff in Mount Carroll. Gonna be a big game. Great environment down in Mount Carroll as well. Jay, let's start with you.
No.
What you got to see both these teams last year. What do you see being a difference in this game?
Yeah, the motorcycles are going to be revved up on Friday night. And here's one thing. You're always Sunday morning quarterback, or Monday morning quarterback. Here's one thing that I love about 8-man football, and that is every game means something, and head-to-head matchups matter. And this game against West Carroll and South Beloit happens in week 1. Big game between two of the teams in the north that expect big things out of this year, and it's a big thing come playoff time. When you are tied up in 8-man football, head-to-head matters. It's not playoff points. It's not anything like that. It's head-to-head. So this week 1 matchup is going to be critical for both teams in their playoff run if they both get there. Both will have some different players are going to plug in, but we've talked about West Carroll wanting to make that jump into that, and along with South Beloit. They've been a team, and last year they played a Milledgeville team in the playoffs. Tough.
Real tough.
It was a game where a lot of people were kind of overlooking them, and Milledgeville next week against this or that. But South Beloit came to play, and they're a team that got good as the year went on, and they always have the athletes, right? They're a team that always has the athletes, and it's going to be on display. And them traveling to West Carroll, you got to give West Carroll a big one here, because they get a home game against one of the top teams, and what are you supposed to do? Protect your home field. So
that's the name of the game, right? Joe, what you got on this game?
So, yeah, kind of echoing some of the things Jay said. First of all, again, he talked about the running backs. Two of our favorite running backs, Kyle. Chase Harrington of South Beloit, and Aiden Buckholz of West Carroll. So These two guys are going to have a big say in who wins this ball game, I think. The other thing, I'm interested to see West Carroll kind of unleash the sophomore quarterback Brody Smith here. I like this kid's arm. He's a gunslinger. I'm going to see, you don't want to go away from Buckholz, but I think West Carroll's kind of got a secret weapon here now. Who he's going to throw to is yet to be determined. Obviously, West Carroll lost their top 2 receivers from last year in LeBourne and Bedimula, but this is going to be a fun one. I got West Carroll in this one, giving them a slight edge. And, of course, line play, too. Both teams are going to have some size in that line. So I'm giving West Carroll a slight edge in this one. Maybe I'm going to say like a 32-26 type of game.
Ooh, yeah. No, I mean, there's a reason why this one's game of the week, right?
This was an easy choice, Kyle. Easy choice here for me.
West Carroll opens up number 4 in our state ranking, South Beloit number 6. If you go back at last season, as you were just stating, you'd take a look at that South Beloit game against Milledgeville. I would say, despite both teams losing at the same point in the playoffs, the more impressive finish was that of South Beloit, despite the fact that they lost to West Carroll 3 weeks prior to that, 41-22. But likewise, South Beloit put up a hell of an effort against Milledgeville in that quarterfinal game.
They sure did.
What West Carroll did against South Fork, right?
Right, and Kyle, both of these teams, as you said, lost in the quarters last year, and both of their head coaches have said, I've seen it in print, the expectation this year for both these teams is to take the next step, right? And that would be, say, the semifinals or even state. Well, if you're that team, this is a game where you come out and say, this is what we do, this is our identity, and you try to stop us, right? So I'm interested to see this. I'm hoping to be able to catch a little bit of this one later on in the night, or maybe watch it Saturday morning. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, and yeah, we'll see what happens here. But going West Carroll, but would not be surprised if South Beloit pulled it off here.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing in games like this, right? You talk of coaches and players and people, and everybody chatters of how do you take the next step and what do you do to take the next step? And this is the point here, right? And it happens whether it be week 1, 5, 7, or 9. And you have to win these games. And that's where we talked about beginning of the show of you win week 1, you feel really good. You lose week 1, you have a long time because you're sitting at 0-1 and you're wondering what you're going to do week 2. And, your backs are up against the wall. So you like to see it, but you don't like to see it, right? You'll probably like to see a couple games before you see this matchup. If you're both of them, to get a game or 2 under you, but that's not how it played out. You're playing week 1. You're both healthy. You've both been waiting for this. I think it's going to be a heck of a matchup, and it can go either way. When it comes down to games like this, it'll come down to, again, you see West Carroll at home. Coaching wise, I think they've both been in the same spot. They're looking to win that big game. It'll come down to then what happens on the football field, and that is who can control the ball and who turns the ball over. A block punt, a return kickoff, a bad interception. That is what's going to change the game to the other team. And I don't know, who's going to win or not. But if you go to a game, you'll get that feel. And if there's a bad fumble that a team doesn't score and a team stops a team, that's what's going to cost you the game. It's going to be handling onto the football.
Yep.
And it's going to be a special team play. That's what's going to win the football game on Friday night.
And Jay, to me, as long as this game is within 1 score either way, there's no reason Buck, Holston, and Harrington shouldn't be getting 20 touches in this game.
There
right?
should be.
I mean, stick to the game plan, right? As long as it's within 1 score. You know what I mean? Don't outthink yourself here if you're either one of these teams.
Well, you got a new OC there in West Carroll.
Yep.
Should be a lot of fun to see what kind of gimmicks he adds, or wrinkles, I should say, he adds to all of that situation.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, one little side note here, guys. And I know neither one of these teams is looking ahead, right? I mean, this is too big of a game here to look ahead. But you go ahead to week 2, South Beloit hosts Amboy. And then West Carroll's got Amboy in week 3. So
who does West Carroll have week 2?
AFC. So West Carroll gets this one. You're obviously looking at probably a 2-0 start for them. South Beloit, this would be a huge win if you get this when you got Amboy coming to town. South Beloit potentially, Kyle, could be in our game of the week 2 weeks in a row here, possibly. But we'll worry about that next week.
And South Beloit does like the opposite. They do West Carroll play each other, then they go Amboy AFC. So they just flip 2 and 3. So one of them's going to be looking at 1 and 2, and one of them's going to be looking at 2 and 1. And looking at South Beloit's schedule, which we have up, then they get a bye, and then they go Alden Hebron, Rockford Christian Life, Kirkland Hiawatha, Orangeville River Ridge.
Oh yeah,
So South Beloit, if they can get that week 1, they're going to be feeling good. See where they're at week 2 with an Amboy team, and then after that, they could run the table honestly the rest of the year if they are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, for sure. I like that, Jay. But this is a game too, guys, where you don't know what's going to happen, the next 9 weeks after this. But this is a game here where the winner, both these teams are going to make the playoffs. I don't think anybody's questioning that. But this could possibly be the difference in a home game or an away game, in that first round, depending how the rest of your season goes here. So,
well, I'll throw you this one. I'll throw you this one, Joe, because now you bring up the West Carroll schedule, and they pretty much play the same schedule. They got Rockford Christian, Kirkland Hiawatha, Milledgeville, Orangeville, River Ridge. Their game that they don't, that South Beloit don't have, is they have polo.
Right.
So let's say
West Carroll. Yeah.
They tie at the end of the year. Then we talk about again
the head-to-head.
Right.
Head-to-head matchup.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, West Carroll's schedule is interesting to me, Jay, when you look at that, because to me, as good as I think they're going to be, I see 6 running clocks on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're West Carroll. But those other 3 games, man, those are going to be dogfights.
Yeah.
So
correct.
It's going to be – this is a big game, big tone-setting game for the season for both of these teams. Kyle, I'd be pretty disappointed if this was a blowout one way or the other. I just can't see it. But, so I think it's – like I said, I got right around that 32-26 margin West Carroll, but we'll see what happens.
I think there's a reason why Coach Sesteta went and got Coach Grenoble to be his OC.
Yep.
Likewise, we've seen what Coach Radesky has done the last couple of years, helping to build up South Beloit. And now they're at a point where they return a lot of talent, a lot of speed. Likewise, West Carroll's in the same part. They want to play power football. You have a quarterback that can throw the ball, and you have an offensive coordinator, let's not be remiss of this, who likes to mix, pass, and run, and has that opportunity to do so with the likes of Brody Smith at quarterback, and then with Bucky at running back. And I will say, Bucky is on my fantasy team as well, so I need him to have a big year, just like I need Mercer to have a big year. Just saying, just put that out there.
Well, so and Kyle, you look back to last year at Milledgeville with Brad Grenoble calling the plays. Look how much they threw those short passes to Spencer Nye out of the backfield. That's something you could see with Smith to Buckholz a lot this year. I don't know why you wouldn't if you're West Carroll. But, that's something that we probably just haven't seen from West Carroll, that a new wrinkle we could see, even if it's not in week 1. I would think as the year progresses, you would see something like that.
So what you're saying is to game plan for West Carroll, just go watch Milledgeville the last couple of years.
Well, I don't know about that. It might give you an idea.
Hey, it's the smart thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Player personnel package is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for new things out of West Carroll, let's be honest. You're probably going to take a little bit of what Milledgeville's done and kind of combine it with what West Carroll's done and see what sticks.
Well, and
at least if I was,
for sure,
right?
And
Coach?
I would just look for a West Carroll team. It'll probably change their game plan now because I'm saying it, but I'm looking for a crazy play right away. New OC, new stuff. I just look for a crazy wrinkle of you throw a crazy pass type thing or something like that to get a big play. What West Carroll has to do is they have to play from ahead, right? Yeah. You're the home team. You got all this excitement. You got all of that going on. You're playing with the lead. You're going to feel good. South Beloit needs to get a stop and get a lead and play with the lead. But it'll come down to turnovers.
Hey, I'm looking forward to this game. I want to see who stands out in this game because, like I said, we got Player of the Week candidates this year with new prizes going out to the winners of our Player of the Week.
Yep.
And, of course, sponsored by Breedlove Sporting Goods. So very excited to see what we can do here. This game here in itself is going to provide a lot of fireworks. Does Mount Carroll light off fireworks? If they don't, they need to because that's
only Joe's South Fork team.
Yeah.
I'm never mind. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'll save it.
All right. Well, that gives you a look at what we have going on in week 1. We literally covered every game here in the 2 hours that we've been going. And, man, it's finally here, guys. Week 1 is here.
Hayes in the barn, baby.
Coach Dennis Green. Jay Doyle is back on set. Excited to have him here. And, Joe, you're obviously the guru of all things I8FA. Always great to have you on. Looking forward to a great season
spokesman
ahead.
of 8 Man.
Yes, the spokesman of 8-Man. He is the guy with all the knowledge.
Well, Kyle, I may look like an idiot by this time next week. We don't know. Who knows after these week 1 results? But
we all might. Who knows?
That'll be after that Milledgeville game, bud.
Yeah, if Milledgeville wins by 3 touchdowns, I won't be heading 11 miles west anytime soon. I can tell you that.
You ain't gonna see Roble at a Casey's or something like that. You're gonna be walking to the bathroom or out the back door.
He might thank me for the motivation, though, Jay.
If
you ever think of it that way?
Touchdown, Kurt Francis is going to make sure you know about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Then that's good. That's why we do this, right? I love it.
Absolutely. No, this is a lot of fun. But week 1's here. Get out to those games. Root for your teams. I would say, as always, root for the NUIC. But we are expanding things to a much bigger dynamic this year. Root for your teams is what I'll say. Root for your teams. Have fun. And enjoy week 1. We'll see you next week.